Good day, everyone. So finally, I'm back on the charts. I was waiting for this Fed decision yesterday to see what their plans are and see how the market's going to react to that. This market did boost before the time, and I am a little annoyed that I never got in here. But like I say, I was just being disciplined and waiting for that news because if it was other news, it could have sent us straight down. But over here were a few opportunities. But now that we've broken bullish, right, I'm starting to look for buys, and I'm going to go over some of the areas that I'm looking at because I want to pull back. We are very overbought now. We can look. The daily is moving up. 12 hour, 6 hours, quite overbought on the RSI and the MFI. Bearish divergences on both MFI and RSI 4 hour, super overbought on the 2 hour, overbought on the 1 hour, 30-minute. You see we have quite a bit of divergence here already, so you see this little high here is lower than that high. It's the opposite going on down here. Right now, what the Fed, they decided to keep the rates where they are, right? Maybe they'll raise again in the meeting in, is it November or December? But they also signal that this might be it, that they're going to pause now, right? So that's what's sending the market up. So I do think this thing is probably going to continue grinding up, but it's too tricky now for a buy, right? So I think it has the potential to move up into this area over here, where you can see all this support, resistance, support, resistance, right? Maybe even squeeze up to there, and then maybe a drop back to this counter trend line, and then we can now see where we can get in there. This is a bit of a short squeeze, man. Like I say, it's probably just going to continue up, and it is annoying that I missed these buys over here. Even here, this was during the meeting. I thought, okay, maybe if it pushes back down to this area here where we have support, resistance, then we can now, add some spice in there, but that just never happened. But no fret. Let's have a look at where we are right now. So currently we are breaking above this little anchored VWAP from this last peak here. Maybe I should put it onto this higher peak. Where was I? Oh yeah. So let's put it onto this last peak there rather. And then it coincides here with this resistance level. So maybe we push up to there. We get a drop. Maybe tomorrow, Monday. And then Monday we try to get some spice. So what I'm actually looking at here now is the potential maybe for an inverse head and shoulder. So we have the shoulder, the neckline, the head, the neckline, and then you can either push to this area or a little bit further into that area, extending the trend line a little bit like that. That could happen as well. So I'm back bullish, right? And I'm looking for buys. I think we could be bullish for the rest of the year, perhaps going into the new year, and then we sell off again next year. So these yellow lines are my 5-day moving averages, right? So if they can also, just kind of flatten out into this area, then as you can see, it kept the market down, 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 broke above it, and then maybe we get something like that. Right, chart is a bit messy here, man, so let me just clean up some things. Okay, so I would like to see it fall back into this area, man. Right, now we also have an inner trend. We have this trend line here of support. Support, 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 right? So it can either then push into this area here, right? And that will, like I say, maybe by Monday or something, if it starts to fall now, right? And then we have this inner trend line here, pick there, where we have a steeper trend line, right? Then we have, let's take this one away for now. We have resistance, broken resistance. I'm sure if I go into the smaller time frame, even if I go to the 15, you'll see here, broke above it and formed a bit of support there. I was looking at that, but I was like thinking, maybe there's just another spike down to take buyers out. I hate it when that happens, man, when you expecting the pullback, it never comes, and when you think, okay, now it's going to go, then the pullback comes. The market just always messes with you. But okay, I think that if I was a little bit more on the charts, I could have caught those entries, man. It's end of the month here at my business, and it's crazy, man. I have to juggle a lot, and I don't like, just sprinting through things, man. I need to properly digest the information that I'm looking at. See, so these candles are getting smaller and smaller. Even this morning when I was looking at this over here, man, I was like, maybe a little break here, but it's just too risky, man. I don't want to take that risk, especially like I hate catching on nonsense before the weekend, and I'm just upset the whole weekend. Okay, anyway, so I'm looking at this area here, right? Counter trend line, resistance, resistance, resistance. And then let's look at these anchored VWAPs from this peak here. Now, this could form some kind of support here, right? But I would like to see it squeeze rather to this area, where we have this next anchored view of this at this next peak over here, and it offered resistance, 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 resistance. This is now the green anchored view that I'm looking at, right? Resistance. So if it continues here, it could offer some potential support. Then we have this anchored VWAP from these lows, right? This last low support. It was acting as resistance the whole time here. Resistance, support, resistance, resistance. Breaks resistance, retest. Boom. So now it breaks that anchored VWAP. Let's just put one here at the bottom here just for posterity. Let's check one here quickly. You see, even here, man, the more I look at this, man, I'm annoyed more and more. Look at this anchored VWAP right there. You had this trend line there, boom. see something. Okay. So what happens when you're not spending time on the charts? I'm going to show you this. So here's the trend line, resistance, 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 squeezes above, back below, breaks, support, boom, boom. What is wrong with you, bro? Okay. Too many anchored VWAVs here. I just want to delete some. Take this away. Let's keep this one here. Let's put one over there. And then one on that break. So, we have this green anchored VWAV from the top there. The top there. This one from this last low here. This is my area of interest. If it breaks that, then we could maybe see if it wants to push down to see also another entry. Resistance, resistance, breaks resistance, tests support. Boom. But it's fine, and we don't always have to be early. It's just a little annoying when it boosts like this, and then you always get worried. Is it not going to go without me? Is it going to get a pullback? And there's always like the anxiety of this thing. Okay, let me just clean this up. So I'm just showing you all of these confluences, and then I'm going to send this chart to the room, and then we look for a pullback. Hopefully we get it. And then, I mean, it could even, if it spikes down today, drops into here. Thursday. And maybe by tomorrow even. You see here, Friday. So if it can drop today and then tomorrow by New York open here, 2 o'clock around that area, then we can now, that'll be fantastic, man. Okay. What else is making noise here? Let me take away this. Let me take away this. And then we'll keep that for now. I do think we first push up, maybe into this area, maybe even further. Then we're gonna have to be concerned with this area here. Resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance. Now if it does breaks above the anchored VWAV from this peak here, maybe it wants to test the anchored VWAV from the peak, this turquoise line. If it breaks through the pink one, maybe it pulls up to there, then maybe a pullback, and then, right? So we know that a recession is on its way. We just don't know how long it's busy taking. Okay, so now the Fed decided they're not going to raise this time around. They might still raise another quarter point before the end of the year, but they signaled that we're round about now the pause. Now the pause could now give us a boost. But when the Fed pivots, meaning that now they're going to decrease, that is when the trouble is going to come. Because at that point it's likely that something's already broken, like the banks failing, inflation and all of these things. We're still in a very tight area with these wars. Another thing with the wars also is the wars seem to send these stocks up. Defense stocks, if you're thinking about buying, if you're thinking about World War III coming, think about buying defense stocks, definitely buy oil, buy gold, buy Bitcoin, those types of things, right? So yeah, I hate it when it does this. You would wish for just a quick pullback and then continue, but I also needed a break, man, to just kind of like get my psychology right, man, because I was pretty impatient, man, making like dumb mistakes, knowing I should just wait a little bit longer. Then I just enter a little bit too early, then I don't get the profit I want. I go into a bigger drawdown that I don't want, man. Just making like rookie psychological decisions, man. So I was like, no, wait, let me take a step back, man, and just not look at these charts, man, because it's taxing, it's pressure and all of that, man. You wanna get the analysis right for everybody. So this is my area of interest. Those are the confluences I'm looking at there. Hopefully we get a pullback. I'm gonna hate if we don't. Okay, so now you see here also, I just take this Fibonacci. We have from this low to this peak, back down to the 50%, twice, double bottom, breaks the top, hits target 1, tests it over here, target 2. So now, this is where I'm thinking this area, right? Let's see if we now take this Fibonacci and let's say we lift this one to this last low, and let's say that one pushes up to there, then we could potentially have a pullback into this 50% area like that. So yeah, we have a nice strong show of force by the bulls. It's now just the agonizing wait for a pullback. It's the worst when the pullback doesn't come and it just keeps on going and going. But it's too risky to buy right now. We're too overbought. We're approaching resistance. I do think we squeeze further up, maybe to here or to here. Then maybe a pullback. Then we look at that. If it continues further, right, then maybe we just get a pullback up until this purple anchored VWAP. But I would like to see at least over here, man. Remember, we have to now look for, besides the confluences I pointed out here now, we look for divergences. So I want to see this come down, this come down, right? So let's say, for instance, these lows, this low over here is nice and low here. Then I would like to see this one breach that low. Same with the RSI over here. Breach this low, form a higher low, giving us divergences, and then we look for, that counter trend line break. So let's say we have a pullback and it does something like that, and we wait for that break, something like that. You feel me? Oops. Alright, so that's that. So now I want to show you guys my other chart here. So let's go back to this one. You guys know that I use these channels, man. This is also too busy. Let's take this away. Alright. And I look for these up and down movements in the channel. This is a larger channel. That's how we knew, we were supposed to get like a buy down here last year. So we could now, let's say we have this trend line up here, right? And then we have, just load this here, a smaller trend line over here where we have this resistance. Let's say this thing doesn't pull back and it wants to now push all the way up there without a pullback. See, as you can see, we also add against resistance. Let me just quickly pause here. There's anchored VWAP from here. I support resistance. Let's see. But if it breaks, then those are areas that we have to look at for support. But let's now say it just continues up to there. Then we can now look for this break, support, continue, and then we see whether it breaks this next one. If it breaks, then we could maybe have a double top or push up further for an all-time high before we now get the big crash, which I think is coming at some point next year. Okay, so I was just showing you guys this chart with regards to the channels, right? So this is now channel on the smaller, like over here, just for this momentum over here. Same way we traded these channels. You see, this was after COVID, was steep. this was crazy. But then the market kind of like calmed down a bit, and then we had a more stable channel to track our movements with. And I just want to show you guys how we use this. What is this? Is this on logarithmic? Yeah. You know, just something like this, man, where you see how it moves from the bottom to the top, to the bottom, to the top, to the bottom, not quite the top, but almost there, bottom, top, bottom, top. Now I'm looking now for the same thing to trade now while we still have this bullish momentum, right? So this is the channel on the logarithmic chart. I think I should throw one here on the linear chart as well. Let me just check something. Yeah, could also work. But you guys can see we're approaching this trend line here. Support, support, resistance. Maybe we get a pullback after that. I can throw the same one here on the logarithmic. And as you can see, we're approaching that area there. So I'm going to take it back to the 4-hour. Clean this line up there. Right? So that's where I think we're heading. Let me just point this area out for you guys quickly. It's see a support, support, resistance, resistance, support, resistance, support, 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 resistance, resistance, resistance. Maybe it wants to push up into there, and then, right? But now I want to look at our pullback now that I want to see here. So area number 1, and then area number 2, right? So area number 1 would just be a retest of this broken counter trend line, right? Area number 2 would then be shoulder, neckline, head, shoulder, neckline, and then the shoulder, and then perhaps we see something like that. So alright guys, I'm going to send these to the group, pointing out these areas of interest. Let's just throw some horizontal support and resistance. You can see resistance, resistance, support, 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 support. Could offer us that support that we need here. Alright guys, I hope what I'm showing to you is making sense. Alright, check in later.